Okay, Ade, let me ask you. Okay, we're getting to that.
I just wanted to speak to
Okay, so Haji has mentioned that some of the members of NASIMA have suffered in the past few months. What are some of the challenges that members of your organization have faced in the last 3 months there is that the border has been closed? And what are some of the things, the expectations from government in regards to sort of ameliorating that situation for them?
Thank you. You know that NASIMA has members who are exporters and importers as alike. What is important and what has been stated by the Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Information, is to the effect that 15% more revenues have come in. And that is, let me give you an example with rice. I'm the largest, one of the member companies, I don't want to mention companies there because we're talking about the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
We're the largest producer of rice. But 2.5 million tons of rice get smuggled into the country every year. So you can imagine.
So that affects the output and the production and the profitability.
So what happens is that Nigeria consumes 7 million tons of rice. 2.5 million
is smuggled in.
We produce about 3.5 or 4 million. By the time you input that 2.5 million in, which are counting as local production, it's erroneous because it's coming in as smuggled. No tariffs are paid. But why don't you allow this thing to come in legitimately and tariffs are paid? So what Nigeria needs to do is to allow rice to come in legitimately, let people pay tariffs and levies, and government gets its revenue. But right now, what happens is that prior to the borders being closed about 3 months ago, which I think is a very positive development, but like Haja said, some members are suffering because of imports and other things you have at the borders. Yeah. But there are 3 things being involved here. You have proliferation of arms, you have smuggled rice, smuggled poultry products. Everything in Nigeria seems to be smuggled in. And in. The Beniners don't eat parboiled rice. But the parboiled rice that comes from Thailand comes through their ports and ends up in Lagos. Whether at night, whether during the broad daylight, we don't know. But it comes in. And that undermines local production.
So in terms of this local production, you work directly with those who are, as you said earlier, importers and exporters of whatever it is that we can produce here in Nigeria. Beyond this, the question also has to be, why has it just been now that the federal government has taken such a hardline stance? This is not an issue of yesterday. It's not an issue of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration. It's something that many people have been aware that's been going on for a number of years. So why the stance now?
I agree with you, but you have to take the bull by the horn. The President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration has said to itself, you know what? We'll bite the bullet. We have to take this hard stance. There will be temporary suffering, but long term will be better for it. And I think in the last 2-3 months, we're better for it. You find out that heads of states of countries that neighbor us come in every, technically speaking, to come and confer with our president, saying please, in the spirit of free movement. And the president has said no. And the customs head honcho has said no. And the National Security Advisor, of course, manages security. So you find out that proliferation of arms as well is a problem. So a lot of things get smuggled in. We've become a country of anything goes. So this government, I think, has taken a step in the right direction.
Okay, Ade, I want to bring you in here. He talks about competitiveness, more productivity, technology as well. For many years, there's been conversations around food safety and food security, Nigeria being food sufficient as well. And a number of people with this border closure have talked about the fact that the country is not food sufficient, which is why we have such a large import bill. So how is NASIMA, and of course, with some of the other knowledge you have with what I might call your side hustle, how is NASIMA working on those things? Because when we talk about food sufficiency and food security, they're not necessarily the same thing.
Yes.
So we need to make that very clear for people, and we need to see how we're encouraging our farmers to make the country food sufficient.
Like Dele said, in NASIMA we take agriculture seriously, we take mining very seriously, we take industry very seriously. We're the foremost chamber in the country that is all encompassing. So for us, we go across, various sectors, but drilling down and narrowing down to agriculture. For us, agriculture is not, we don't talk about agriculture anymore now, we talk about agribusiness. Because agriculture is now a business. It's not subsistence farming that we used to do.
It's not hoe and cutlass.
No, not at all. It's not mechanization. It's not irrigation. Yes, the entire value chain. From what you call seed to shelf, or from farm to fork. So for us in Nigeria, we're number 1 in cassava, yet to import starch. We are good in maize, soya, and the likes. But the problem with us is that our yields are very poor. And our yields are poor because our extension workers we had in the 70s and 80s have not been, he talked about capacity building. He's very, very right. Capacity building is very important. You have to retool, you have to retrain. Because these guys are talking about 30, 40 years ago of analogous technology. We're talking about digital technology now. We're talking about the future. We're talking about artificial intelligence. The world has moved. The train has left the station. So we might have another chance to get into the train. But right now, we're not there yet. Nigeria is the largest producer of yam, largest producer of cocoyam. Where, arguably, we're not doing very bad in other areas. But you know what? For you to be competitive, you must have competitive advantage in something. So people always talk about competitiveness. You can only be competitive when you have competitive advantage. But Nigeria always tends to want to have competitive advantage in so many things. Choose some crops. You can call them, tier A crops that you want to focus on. You can't focus on everything. And Dele and I were having a conversation offset. You can't have a 10-point agenda. You can only have 2 points, 3 points, so that you can be able to do something for focus. Yeah. Because we tend to do a lot of things in Nigeria based on electoral cycles of 4 years or max 8 years. We need to shift from that. And that's what the chamber is doing. I don't think the national president told you. She's the president of the Federation of West African Chambers of Commerce. And in that capacity was where we're coming from. Dele, you might want to speak to that quickly. Where we're coming from with respect to today, prior to coming now.